What's up, guys? This is Kephas. I think that, like, with this classic, I think a lot of it is because it's like that, because it's considered, Blizzard had to cater to people because they got outraged. Well, I wouldn't say, like, it's not like today where people get outraged at nothing. It's kind of like the situation going on with Respawn. That was going on when this video was recorded, with the whole Apex thing, where the developer outright insulted the critics, because a couple critics were probably being complete jerks about it. But, again, it's what they do. They lump everyone in together. 55. We are moseying right along. And that's not a good thing to do. It's also not good for a public figure, a salesman, because it's what you are if you're a game developer, whether you want to admit it or not. It's not good to crap on your customers. It's not good to stoop to the same level. You can let your customers do it, and you can choose not to engage. You can even say, I'm not going to engage you if you're going to be a jerk, but you don't want to stoop to the same level, and you certainly don't want to group everyone in as if they're all that one guy who took things too far, because now you're going to make your customers mad, and your customers are the people that pay you to make the product. That's the thing. That's one of those things, not to get off on a tangent, that's one of those things that frustrates me about the gaming industry now. It also frustrates me with media in general, is I think a lot of people have gotten so well off because of their success, thanks to people like me who buy their products, who watch their movies, who play their games, that they've gotten to the point where, because a lot of people can be very negative, a lot of people can be very critical, a lot of people can be very harsh, and a lot of people can take things too far, but overall, they just take their fans, their viewers, their audience for granted. And, maybe sometimes people are going to criticize you in a harsh way, but if you're not willing to, toughen up, suck it up, get some thick skin, and pick out the criticism and take it seriously, well, you're going to lose your audience. And that's what's happening with things like, Star Wars is not in a good place right now because of this very reason. People are going to debate that. People are going to be mad that I even said that, but it's a fact. It just is. Sorry. But you cannot think that just because your IP is so popular that it's, it's like what's the story of Icarus? Was it Icarus? You got too close to the sun? I think that's what's happening. I think a lot of established media, a lot of elites, a lot of celebrities, a lot of, IPs and people that make them, they're like Icarus. They get too close to the sun. They think that that their IP will always succeed no matter what. And we're getting to a point, especially in the gaming world, where people are getting sick of it. And, people are realizing, I don't have to buy that. I don't have to go watch that, especially if you're going to mistreat me. You're gonna push certain things down my throat, or whatever. You're going to tell me that, like in the case of what happened with Classic is a good example too, because it all started with the shot heard around the world. Do you ever think about bringing Classic servers back? And the president of Blizzard saying no, because you don't want that. You think you do, but you won't. You don't. In other words, I know you better than you know yourself. The absolute nerve of that guy. I've talked about that 100 times. J. Allen Brack might be a decent guy. For all I know, he could be the nicest guy in the world. But I don't think. All I have to go off on is the way he talks in public, the way he carries himself, and the way he treats his own player base. And in that instance, he was being a jerk. Period. He may not be a jerk in real life, but in that moment, he was a jerk. He may not have intended to be a jerk, but he came off like the biggest jerk in the world. Because the guy that asked him the question was not being rude, he wasn't trolling, he wasn't being... And people have tried to paint that. Like, it's crazy. People try to paint that guy that asked that all those years ago like he was being a troll. Because he wasn't willing to just blindly accept the new product, or whatever. Or maybe he was. Maybe he was fine with the new product, but he missed the old product. And then, to cap things off, the shot heard around the world was followed up with them shutting down the Nostarius. So not only were they saying, you don't want Classic WoW. We're not going to give it to you. And we're also going to take it away from those who clearly do want it. And I think a lot of that was not so much because they had to protect their IP and all this bullcrap like people say. There's possibly some truth to that. I think at that time, they wanted to shut down the discussion. They wanted to shut down the whole thing. Any attention. Because it is somewhat damaging to their product. It does speak to the current state of the game, to a degree. Not entirely. I mean, look at RuneScape. You could just paint off like, well, people want different things, and this is how we found a way to make that happen. And that's exactly how they're probably going to paint it off. But the truth of it is that Modern WoW isn't doing it for a lot of people. A lot of people are jumping ship to Final Fantasy XIV. And even more are pining for Classic WoW. I think that 8.2 is an improvement, but I think that the World of Warcraft as a whole, even the retail version, people say they just need it. Since they're bringing Classic back, they can just keep going in the direction that they're going in. No, that's not true. That is not true. It doesn't mean that they need to make Modern WoW like in every way like Classic WoW, but they need to change things. They absolutely do. They need to take a different direction, and it's something that people have been calling for since Mists. And what's going to happen next? This is what's going to happen after Classic comes out. People are still going to criticize when they make mistakes in current WoW. And this is what they don't want. What could happen? Classic comes out, and people will play it, and people are cool with it, and they're release the new patches. It's going to be really fun for a while. And people will keep playing it over and over. They'll go back to it, but eventually it's going to be, it's Classic. There's no new content, so it's only going to exist for so long before something's going to have to be done. Another expansion is going to have to be released. They're going to have to iterate on the Classic game and try a different direction. Or what's going to happen, most likely, is that people are still going to play current WoW, and if there aren't significant changes made to make the game better as a whole for the majority of people are going to start criticizing again. And what the defenders are going to do, and I hope Blizzard themselves don't do this, but what the defenders, people who always defend them because it's what they do, they're going to say, hey, they gave you Classic, go play that. If you don't like retail, go play Classic, right? And if you're not careful, what ends up happening is that retail becomes more and more of an example of a negative, MMO. Like, people are playing Classic because retail is so bad, right? That's what could happen. And you don't want that. You do not want that. You want people like me, who right now in this moment, who say, I actually play both. I like to go back and play the old game because, the game was changed. Another rare. We're taking him out. I knew he was a rare because he looked different. But at the same time, you don't want people who say, I only play Classic because retail is so bad. And I think Classic is better and it's still fun. You don't want that. That's not what you want. And people say, oh, they don't care because they got their money either way. They're subscribing no matter what. It's like, look, you're not thinking long term. You got to think long term. If you want to, seriously, if you want WoW to continue to exist, if you want to still make money off of it, you have to think long term. And I think that it's clear. With each new expansion, the sentiment grows. Modern WoW is going in a direction that people don't like. Final Fantasy XIV does it better. Final Fantasy XIV does the modern MMO experience a lot better. And that's why it's growing. Yeah, it's modern. Yeah, it has Dungeon Finder. Yeah, it has a lot of those things. But it also has a lot for you to invest in. A lot of reasons for you to group up. A lot of reasons for you to revisit old content. They try their best to keep things relevant. Those are all factors. You actually unlock things in Final Fantasy XIV. Like, parts of the game. Parts of building your character. You go through and unlock those. You have to visit certain areas. I think WoW has a better world. I think it has a more interesting story. I like the character designs better. I like the art style better. I like everything about WoW better, but I genuinely feel like right now, Final Fantasy XIV is a more enjoyable game than WoW. The thing is I'm more invested in WoW because I've been playing it for so long, and a lot of the people that I like are here, and also that's a big part of where my audience is interested in. So I think that just because we have Classic, just because that exists, that doesn't mean that modern WoW couldn't use some changes. I don't know if they'll ever be able to go back to like the way Classic was. I don't think that would be too wise. I think they would lose a lot of other people that So they're kind of in a they have to find a way to somehow redesign their approach to WoW. I think that expansions need to be more relevant to the long term of the game, not just, hey, this is what you're going to do for the next 2 years and then it's going to become pointless afterwards. I think they need to think of ways to make old content matter more. I think that progression should begin at level 1 and should matter at level 1 and continue to matter all the way through endgame. I think that there should be more of an investment. I think that people need to be more immersed, and that's something that should start at level 1 and go all the way through. I think that, I don't know if WoW has always been a theme park, but I think that it needs to become less of a theme park and more of, if you're going to be a theme park, don't just be, hey, here's the new ride. Hopefully this will get people interested for a couple of years. And I think that what really concerns me, I'm lost. What really concerns me is when I look at like Blizzard and their approach, it concerns me that they thought that Warfronts were a good idea. That's what I think of. When I think of like the current development, I can't look at Warfronts and think, oh man, that they were on to something. Because I don't think they were. I cannot find one good thing about Warfronts. I'm sure there are people that like them. I'm sure there are. People like anything. But Warfronts are literally just a battleground against NPCs. And one that you're pretty much guaranteed to always win. Oof. That does not sound fun. And guess what? It's not. To most people, it's not fun. So, a lot of different thoughts. Thinking about Classic. Classic's coming soon. There are a lot of naysayers. There are a lot of people that think that people are going to get sick of it in no time. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that it succeeds. I know that I'm going to play it. And in fact, all the naysayers are just, like my wife said, all they're doing is enticing people to be more stubborn about it. If anything, they're gonna want to prove them wrong. It's true. That's exactly how I feel. I want to prove them wrong. I want to prove the naysayers wrong. So I'm going to be playing the crap out of it. I'm going to be making guides for it. I'm going to be making content for it. And I'm going to do my part to make sure that Classic is what people see. Along with retail. And that's the thing, is I also want retail to improve. I think 8.2 did a good job. I think 8.2 was fun. It doesn't last forever, of course. It gets boring. I mean, it gets old once you do what you got to do. Look at that, 56. We are on our way, guys. We are almost ready to go to Outlands. But I also think that, I think that Modern WoW can be good too. Legion was pretty good. Legion was a good expansion. But I do think that it's finally time for Blizzard to take a look in the mirror, take an honest look at the way WoW is, and hey, they have better metrics than I do, but I see how people are reacting online and what people think, and I know what I think, and I still want a good retail experience, a good modern WoW experience, and I'm hoping desperately that the future they will change things. That they will make drastic changes. Not just some gimmicky change like, hey, we're removing factions. That's all fine and good if you want to do that. But the game, the core game, needs some fundamental changes. So, that's what I think. We're wrapping up our questing in Where are we? We are Loch Modan. Wrapping up our questing in Loch Modan. I've talked a lot about Classic pre-release, given my thoughts, scattered as they may be. But we will see what happens. I'm rooting for Blizzard, and I'm rooting for WoW, and I'm really excited to see where WoW goes. So the next time I record, the next episode after this, it will be a post-Classic release, probably a few weeks after Classic's release, before I start recording new episodes again, because I want to get a fresh look at things. But we will continue our leveling here, alongside our leveling in Classic, and we will see what the future of WoW has in store for us. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button, and feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. Don't forget, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and if you'd like, you can support this channel on Patreon. Links to all of this can be found in the description below. This is Kephas. Until next time.